Welcome back to Fairy Tail Anime Review. This is part 5. And this one we're reviewing Season 5 of the Fairy Tail anime series. Unlike the first 4 seasons where they were simply just adaptations of the manga, this one is entirely original story. It's a filler season. The story is called The Keys to Heaven. The Keys to Stairway to Heaven. Yeah, it's basically... it starts off when this girl named Michelle, blonde hair girl, shows up with something for Lucy from her late father, who passed away, revealed to pass away during just before she came back during the 7-year jump. Yes, and it's nothing. Yeah, and it turns out basically he gave her what looks like a clock hand. And the first couple episodes basically sort of standalone-ish, to sort of build the season up. Excuse me. Yeah. Like, not only that, but the first episode introduces a group of 3 characters who come back later on, and they're the most annoying group of villains for an episode I've ever seen. The Butt Jingle Gang. Oh boy, these guys. Guys who basically their main feature is they fart and they love wiggling their rear ends a lot, and they wear black leotards. Of course, these guys come back and meet up with Urza, and Urza tries out their leotard, and she finds it very comfortable. Heck, they even have it. Well, also in their debut episode, they also have Wendy wear an outfit, and of course later when they come back. Carla and Kana get a chance to wear the leotards. They even try to get Natsu to try it on, but he says, "Nah, I don't want to wear a lame looking leotard." They don't do very much of the course season. They only pop up a handful of times, and they're pretty much minor threats overall when it comes to this entire season. Yeah, and that's just the first episode. Second one is just how should I put this? Well, the whole thing of mentioning that actually starts with the third episode. The second episode is an episode that really did not need to happen. It's an episode where Lucy goes invisible for an episode. Yep. And it's completely useless. Oh, before I continue, there's a couple things I forgot to mention from the previous season. One, there was this power that the sumo wrestler guy from Grimoire Heart, and he had the ability to take over certain people, to take their hair. He did this for Mara Jade. He did this for Lucy. I think he did it for... No, he didn't do it for Gray. When he did it for Lucy, he had her do strange things, like bend over. Like, the first time, just try it out, basically, he used his own hair to try out, just to show off everything. It is so hilarious. And Lucy basically was giving, when Lucy was being controlled, she was forced to do moves, forced to do a couple wrestling moves I immediately recognized. One, she basically did the torture act just like her Eteros counterpart did the previous season, and she also put Natsu in the Boston Crab. Yeah, put him in the Boston Crab. Yeah, 2 classic wrestling moves. I used to follow wrestling a lot, but I just know this stuff. Yeah. Aside from that, there was a couple of things I forgot. Anyways, back to the season. Yeah, basically they set out to find these particular parts, and before they go out to find them, a group of 3 people show up, and 3 people who look exactly like people from Edoras. Basically, these are the Earthland versions of Coco, Sugar Boy, and Hughes. So it's a woman, and her name is Mary Hughes. Sugar Boy is an Elvis impersonator. And everything about him is Elvis. No, seriously. Heck, the guy even acts like frickin' Elvis. Even has that thing, he has a thing that one guy had, who was seen 7 years prior, who used to have, but they got rid of it, basically switched off for goatee. Yeah. And of course, when Gray was fighting, he mentioned that, yeah, he fought him in Eteros. And he decided to do sort of some weird things, like trying to seduce him, which was really bizarre. But later on, it's just so funny. It's one of the most bizarre things, but yeah. And his ability is that he um, takes out a piece of looks like a magic wand, turns into a microphone, one of those old-fashioned microphones, one where basically kind of like small ones, not like the ones basically that kind of like the size of like this, not like those. These are like smaller ones, and he says his hound dogs are actually this slime that consumes magic. It's really bizarre. Mary Hughes' power is that she uses her little finger wand, basically the one that's basically the shape of a hand with like 5 rings on it. Use that to control people, and she uses it on certain people. Excuse me. Coco is not much different from her Edoros counterpart, except that she hates cats. So at the start of this previous season, basically just watch the first episode. I can kind of mention this because, well, the first half of the episode for the start of season 6 is just an epilogue for this particular season. Yep, where she does apologize to Panther Lily for saying that she hates cats. He forgave her for doing it. So, yeah, and they also introduced a ecstasy cat, another ecstasy cat named Samuel, who apparently is kind of like the brains behind the kind of like what appeared to be the main antagonist group. Turns out it's actually somebody else. These were the Legion platoon, was consisted of Byro, basically, who in Edoros was a short guy with the same face but shorter. Here he's just a normal 6 foot tall guy. The only new character they actually, aside from the fact you have 4 characters who are essentially put Earthland versions of characters they met in Edoros, with one original character, and that's Dan Straight. And the guy is constantly trying to seduce women. He first is with Lucy, and then Angel, one of the actual main villains, and then later on he tries to seduce Urza. It is so hilarious. Yeah, I mean, he spends half the time trying to chase Lucy. It is one of the most hilarious recurring gags from the previous season. Yeah. And also the character Romeo actually goes along on the mission, which, hey, at least gives him something to do, and they get a chance to participate in some of the fighting, which is actually pretty amazing. Yep. And after they get taken out, they basically go out and search for the other 6 pieces, the other 5 pieces. Ganju, Levy, and her 2, I don't know, friends, basically look for one piece on top of a mountain with Panther Lily. Gray and Julia, along with Leon, go look for one piece, basically, and they also fight Sugar Boy. Ganjo fights, his group fights Samuel, but mainly just Panther Lily fights him. Let's see. Natsu's group, which consisted of, well, mainly it's 4 people. Actually, it's 5 people, which basically is just Natsu, Happy, Lucy, Michelle, and Romeo. And I really enjoy the fact, despite the fact it's a filler season, I love the fact Romeo gets a lot to do with this particular season. It's nice. He's kind of like the show's version of Konohamaru from Naruto, where he's like a little kid started off first, and then thanks to a time jump, he becomes like a regular thing. Like in the case of Naruto, Konohamaru, throughout the first part of it, basically he was just a punk kid who just looked up Naruto, and then later on he became a genin, like a full-fledged ninja. It's kind of the same thing here, where thanks to 7-year time jump, Romeo became a full-fledged member of Fairy Tail. He got his own mark, and it's the same color as Natsu's, and it's on a different arm. It's actually on his left arm, because Natsu's is on his upper right arm, while Romeo's is on his upper left arm. And because he looks up to Natsu, sort of like an idol, he has it the same color. Now, Wendy has the same spot as Natsu, her Fairy Tail mark, but it's blue. Yeah, blue. Yeah. Julia doesn't really... She does some stuff this particular season, but not a lot. She helps out with Gray and Leon fighting one particular piece. And after that, well, she's seen early on. This is quite hilarious. This is actually kind of like about early on in the season while they're trying to research for a particular thing. And And basically Urza invites Grey to go on a mission with her. He says, just us? And she's like, do you have a problem with that? It's like, he's kind of like nervously agreeing to it because he knows that Julia basically gets jealous of anybody who's with him because he's quite worried. And Julia actually follows him on the mission. She doesn't really do very much. She just stalks him. It's one of the most hilarious things that Julia does. She loves stalking Grey. It's kind of like in Naruto when Hinata was basically stalking Naruto a lot of the time when they were younger. When they're like during the first part. The second part she didn't do very much because one thing, they never show her that much in part 2. Unless of course she's a big part of the story. But yeah, it's quite hilarious the fact that she loves stalking Grey. Yeah, it's the recurring gag for the show. It's that the woman who has a thing for Grey loves stalking him. Yeah, she follows him around everywhere. Heck, even when they go to the Blue Pegasus Guild, she's standing like right behind him, basically on this like railing thing, and she's like super strong. I mean, she nearly crushes the request board like to one side of it because she's getting jealous, and she like crushes a railing. It is so hilarious. And also, I gotta bring up some of the new characters' attires. Lucy's new attire is that she wears what looks like a skirt. A very short top just covers her chest, and she kind of wears like these sleeve things that just cover her arms. Natsu's outfit didn't really change very much. He just simply switched out his vest for sort of like a full coat in a way, but he basically got rid of one sleeve. That's really it. Grey just wears a red shirt and he just switched out his shirt. Though here's kind of the thing. For this particular season, unlike in the previous seasons where he has tendency to strip down his underwear, he didn't do very much this particular season. It's like they just have him just take off his shirt and that's it. Usually, he says the reason why he does that because he's getting serious. Yeah. So, let's see. Trying to think. Oh yeah, Kana gets a little bit to do, not very much. Yeah, her group that looks for one particular piece. Her group consisted of herself, Urza, Carla, and Wendy. Yep. And when they go to this particular, it takes a while to get there, and that's where they count the Butchago Gang again. Where after, and this is actually second appearance in the season, and then after that they don't show up again like one other time after that. So they appear like 3 or 4 times. They're just an annoyance. That's really what they are. They're just an annoyance. I'm trying to think. There was any other group? No, not really. Makara didn't. If you want to think of one main character who did pretty much almost jack squat this whole season, who actually managed to go part of the storylines the first 4 seasons, Makara just does virtually nothing. Seriously, he just does like very little. Out of all the main characters, he did the least. I mean, most of the time he just disappeared without question. And the only time he actually did something was when he, was casting a spell one episode, and that's really it. I would have thought he would have loved to take part in the fighting, but nope. I guess he decided to stay behind. That's the only minor complaint I have, is that all the regular main characters get something to do for this particular season, but not Makara. Nope. Also, Loxus comes back for one episode. Tries to fight Natsu, and he gets knocked out via one punch, and Ganju basically goes out, just runs away. He just disappears really quickly. Yeah, that's something kind of weird, though. Whenever a character disappears, they just do like a little cutout thing anytime a character disappears. It's a recurring gag in the show. It's not an annoyance because they don't do it very often. But, yeah. So, I have to get to who the real main antagonist is. Okay. It turns out the people who are actually behind everything, which is not the Platoon lead, it's not the leads of Platoon, it's actually the main villains of Season 2. No, seriously. The Oracle's, how do you pronounce their name? Is the, Oraceon 6. Though they call themselves the Neo-Naraceon 6 because of their new version. They have 3 of the original members from the previous incarnation. They have Midnight, who call himself Brain the Second. They have Angel and they have Racer. Oh, they have Cobra as well. They have 4 regular members, along with Michelle, who was actually basically she was basically someone who infiltrated the ranks of the Fairy Tail Guild. There's also Grim Reaper, who's actually a character from the first season who popped up in season 2, except that he lost his memory and apparently they decided to shave his head bald for some reason, just for true power. Yeah, it's one of the most bizarre things I had ever seen. Also, this is one character who actually went around most seasons basically blowing up churches. And it's basically a guy who does jackpot stuff. No, seriously. And it turns out this guy is actually the First Brain's staff. Sentient staff. No, seriously. It's his staff. Which, I'm kind of like, when I saw this thing again, I'm like, weren't you destroyed? Didn't Brain break? Didn't Brain destroy you? How the heck are you even intact? I mean, did Midnight create a new staff? Yeah, this is a question that I have. It's like, how in the world... I get the fact the season is filler, but how in the world is the staff even still around? Didn't Brain the Second destroy the staff? And also the globe, basically, the staff pretty much knocked out of its mouth. Yeah, despite the fact he calls himself the 7th member of the Ratio 6, he's actually the weakest member. No, seriously, he is. And Midnight, he gets a slightly new attire. He gets a new coat, and his hair grows out really long because he was in jail for 7 years. Yeah, he was in jail for 7 years. Angel, on the other hand, she apparently switched out. She's not Celestial with it anymore. Basically, she uses angel magic, which nearly tries to kill her, but thanks to Dan Stray, who apparently develops an infatuation with her, saves her life by shrinking her magic down, which, hey, you at least got praised for that. Let's see. Cobra, who from the previous season who actually had a flying snake, and apparently he's one of the, what they call the second generation dragon slayers, where they're not real dragon slayers, they're just phonies. Him and Loxus basically are like that. And I keep wondering, though, what the heck happened to his snake? His snake wasn't technically killed in the previous season. Not really. And it's hinted at that this girl, who had basically been receiving visions, basically in Disney spells, who was actually sort of like one of their bartenders. I think she's got like bluish hair, and wears an outfit similar to what Lasana wore when she was in Edoras. Yeah, it's a similar looking attire. But yeah, and also Mara Jane shows off a new look that she was forbid to use because basically when she last used this look, she destroyed an entire town. Yeah, it's basically not like her Satan Soul look. Basically, it's kind of like a demon goddess look. It's basically blue instead of like pinkish and her face being cracked. She basically has got wings. She's got like this thing surrounding her head, and basically shows off a lot of skin. And of course, whenever she transforms in these two forms, they always change her voice. They do the same thing with her brother Elfman as well. He goes to a couple different transformations as well. Urza does a couple transformations that probably just there for filler stuff. Lucy, on the other hand, doesn't really use much for her celestial spirits that much. I mean, she uses Tauros, Aquarius, Scorpio. They use Aries, and she tried to use his Capricorn, but it was stopped by Byron, basically, who has the ability to neutralize magic. Later, he gets into two fights with Gildarts. First time, basically, it turns to a draw. Second time, Gildarts actually beats the crap out of the guy by using his bare fist. He's just using a bare, it's kind of like a bare knuckle brawl, because even he knows magic is used against him. So let's just use the fist. Yeah. And it turns out this particular Cardinal is not really a Cardinal. He was manipulating anything from the Ratio 6. And they're the ones who actually were behind everything. And it turns out he was not a real person. He was basically a puppet created from a fragment of the first Brain's hair. Yeah. So, I think that was that pretty much everything. Oh yeah, the Archbishop. Which, when I saw him and how, well, the thing Cardinal stuff and the church stuff, or the people just look like nuns and monks, it's kind of like that this particular church is a stand-in for the Catholic Church. And the Archbishop is a stand-in for the Pope. No, seriously, he's a stand-in for the Pope. And he pretty much has the same attire that the Pope is usually known for showing off, except the hat is different. Where, get this particular church symbol is a fleur-de-lis. No, seriously, it's an upside down fleur-de-lis. That is their symbol. I'm like, okay, that's not very original. The fleur-de-lis is something associated with the French. So why in the world are they copying the French and the Catholic Church? Fun little fact when it comes to the title of Pope. Originally was called it was originally called Bishop of Rome, and then later they changed it to Pope. Yeah, it's a fun little history fact. If you look it up, basically that was the original title of Pope, Bishop of Rome. So yeah, the Archbishop of this particular country, yeah, he's pretty much the Pope, and he's being manipulated. And after they fight for a little while, and of course the Infinity Clock gets activated when Original Six takes it. Original Six shows up when the season's got like about 12 episodes left. They show up like a little over halfway through the season, and it's nice the fact they brought these characters back because, well, they're probably one of the most interesting things. And later on they do defeat all of them. At least none of them die. Angel basically begs Gray to kill her, but and basically Gray and Dan Strait do defeat her, but they don't kill her. And apparently she's taken back to jail. Okay. Grim Reaper, who was Erwan, I think his name is, he gets his Wendy restores his memory, and here's kind of the odd thing for these particular teams when they go out to protect these churches. Natsu's team is consisted of Natsu, Lucy, Michelle, and Elfman. That's the team. Another team is Urza, this one character, I don't remember his name. I think his name is Shane. I don't really remember his name. And Evergreen. And she's walking up a hillside in heels. And it was actually an actual complaint about that. Like, why in the world is she walking out in the mountains in high heels? Why does this woman get regular shoes? Why does she have to wear really high heels? It's really stupid. Excuse me. Ganju and Julia team up. They're one team. Let's see, what else? Romeo doesn't really get sent out. He basically sneaks on board during the third outing from the Guild Hall, which basically they're in a small tavern. Yeah, and that's the base operations for a little while. Of course, they later on do get back to the original one. Trying to think there was anything else. I like the fact that pretty much like everybody gets a chance to have something to do. Even Michelle doesn't really do very much, and it turns out Michelle is actually a long lost doll of Lucy's. Yeah, and the real Michelle Lockstetter basically turns out is actually a person who is not related to Lucy at all, and a lot of the stuff she told Lucy was actually completely true. Yeah, so she didn't completely lie at all, which is something. So I think that's pretty much everything. Yeah, that's everything that I can think of when it comes to Season 5. It's an interesting season nonetheless, and by far it's the only entirely filler season. Now, I get the fact that the previous seasons had like 1 or 2 filler episodes, but not an entire season where it's entirely filler. Okay? Oh yeah, I almost forgot something from season, I believe it was 3, I believe it was. No, I think it was previous season. When Urs is fighting that one guy, they show Jalal in a jail cell. But before they get to him, the camera shows off the woman who created a fake dragon from the previous season, who was basically, and that was a 4-part filler. And it's nice the fact that the animators did not forget her, the fact that she does exist. And even though that was filler, they throw her in there because, well, it's a prison, so why not? And I've heard Jalal does get out of that jail cell later on, thanks to 7-Year Jump. And yeah, aside from that, that's really much it. Can't really remember anything else, but interesting season nonetheless. But one of the highlight seasons, basically, the Neon Erection 6. Basically, the reveal is kind of a jaw dropper, to say the least, and it's one of the most shocking moments of the whole season. So I kind of felt as though the animator just having just pure fun, just doing the original story for a change, not adapting the manga, because they didn't want to adapt everything from the manga yet. So they want to give people something that's original and good per se, and showing off familiar characters that people counted before, which was a nice touch. Yeah, so that's really it. Stay tuned for part 6. Probably won't be uploaded to probably Sunday because I'm going to Comic Con tomorrow. So I want people to watch the entire season tomorrow. I might watch most of it, a little bit tonight and some of it tomorrow. But yeah, that's it. Like I said, stay tuned for part 6. And I'll just see you there. Bye.